Welcome, you wonderfully curious listener, to the deep dive. This is episode 6 of the Read Finnegans Wake in 200 Sessions podcast. Today, we're not just dipping our toes, oh no. We are plunging headfirst into the swirling, shimmering, and, well, utterly profound depths of James Joyce's Finnegans Wake. Our focus for this deep dive is Chapter 1, specifically pages 18 to 21. Just a few pages, really, but as you'll soon discover, they contain, well, whole universes within their densely woven words. We've got a truly fascinating stack of sources to guide us through this adventure. Everything from linguistic histories and ancient mythological texts right through to Joyce's own meticulously kept notes and the incisive analyses of modern scholars. Our mission today is basically to unpack these incredibly dense pages, to find those hidden nuggets of knowledge, those startling insights that reveal how the Wake itself doesn't just tell a story, but is a story, a living, breathing, evolving entity that invites us to engage with it on a really fundamental level. Think of this as your shortcut, maybe, to understanding the very fabric of this literary universe, a kind of secret map to some of its most profound and, challenging mechanisms.
Indeed. And what's truly fascinating here is that these few pages, though small in number, they really offer a remarkable microcosm of the entire work. We're not simply engaging in the act of reading about a book, in the traditional sense. We're delving into the very concept of the book itself. We explore its origins, its deeply cyclical nature, and its profound, almost audacious invitation for us, the readers, to actively participate in the creation of its meaning. Which raises an important question right from the outset, one that I think will echo throughout our deep dive. What does it truly mean to read when the text before you is constantly shape-shifting, evolving, and, well, inviting multiple interpretations at every single turn? It's a pretty fundamental challenge, isn't it? To everything we thought we knew about reading. It basically throws out the rule book for literacy.
That's a really provocative thought, that the very act of reading itself is being challenged here. But maybe for a listener who's, used to more straightforward narratives, how do you even begin to approach a text that seems to deliberately defy traditional notions of meaning and clarity right from the very first sentence?
Well, I think it's precisely by embracing that challenge. Joyce isn't trying to confuse you just for confusion's sake. Not at all. He's inviting you into a new way of engaging with language, with history, with meaning itself. And these pages, they are a masterclass in that invitation.
Okay, let's dive into this incredible opening image on page 18 then. Joyce, in his typical fashion, doesn't just invite us to read. He almost commands us, stoop, if you are absent-minded to this Claybook, what curious of signs, please stoop, in this Alphabed. My immediate reaction to that is, well, he's not just writing a book, he's creating an immersive experience right from the start. What's your take on that opening command, that stoop? What does it immediately signal about how we're meant to engage with this Claybook?
Well, it's an absolutely crucial opening, isn't it? That term, Claybook. As noted by the linguistic historian Edward Clodd in his really important work, The Story of the Alphabet, it directly links us to the very genesis of written language. Think ancient cuneiform writing. Imagine those alluvial countries, Mesopotamia, for instance, rich in abundant, malleable clay. This wasn't just any writing material. It was convenient, sure, but crucially, it offered permanence. Characters were impressed onto this wet clay by reeds or, square-shaped styluses. These clay books were then either baked in ovens or just dried in the sun, securing their messages for millennia, much longer lasting than scrolls, for example. So when Joyce says Claybook, he's immediately invoking this primal, almost elemental form of writing, a permanence born directly from the earth itself. It implies the text so ancient, so foundational, it's literally part of the ground we walk on. It demands a physical engagement, doesn't it? A bending down, a recognition of its deep earthy origins.
So it's not just words on a page, it's like an archaeological site, essentially. And then almost immediately it jumps to Alphabed, which the scholarship we've been looking at tells us is a brilliant Joycean fusion of alphabet and riverbed.
It's not just a clever word, though, is it? Imagine literally looking at a riverbed, how it constantly shifts, carves new paths, reveals ancient stones, covers old ones.
Exactly.
That's how Joyce sees language, right? A dynamic, flowing landscape, not some static list of letters. It's an alphabet as old as time, as fluid and ever-changing as a river itself, always eroding and depositing new meanings. And the linguistic histories also highlight the deep etymology of alphabet itself, tracing it back to alpha and beta in Greek, which mirror the even older Semitic characters aleph and beth.
So this alphabet isn't just a new alphabet, it's like the original alphabet, the foundational one, continually being reformed and redefined by the currents of history and language.
Precisely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this Claybook is Finnegans Wake itself. Joyce is presenting his entire work as this vast, ancient hoard of alphabets, a midden-height hoard of objects, teeming with curios of signs.
Mm-hmm.
And that phrase midden-height, it's wonderful, isn't it? A blend of midden, like a refuse heap, a dunghill, and hide, suggesting something buried or concealed. So that's a hidden hoard within a refuse pile.
Oh.
It's an invitation to view the tetrad, the leftovers of history, language, and culture as a rich source of meaning. The author is quite literally inviting the reader to stoop, to bend down, to engage physically, to get close, even intimately, with this ancient, earthy, and sometimes messy text. It's a fundamental challenge to traditional passive reading. It demands a tactile, almost archaeological approach, where every sign is a potential artifact.
So what's the sort of game-changing insight here for us, the readers and listeners? It's that Finnegans Wake isn't a book you merely consume. Joyce is inviting you, in fact, he's demanding you, to become more than a reader. You become a linguistic archaeologist, like Indiana Jones, maybe, but instead of dusty relics, you're unearthing layers of meaning, digging through the Claybook of language itself.
Yeah, exactly.
This isn't just about understanding this text, it's about fundamentally redefining your relationship with any text, forcing you to ask, what other buried histories are hiding in the words we take for granted every day? It makes the act of reading a thrilling, hands-on expedition rather than just passive observation. #tag the world writing its own runes. Okay, if you thought that was deep, get ready for this next declaration because it completely flips the script. Joyce states, but the world mind is, was, and will be writing its own runes forever, man, on all matters that fall under the ban of our inferential senses. When I first read that, my jaw just dropped. This isn't just about a book. It's Joyce basically saying the universe itself is a giant, ongoing novel. How radical is that?
It is incredibly radical, and it encapsulates so much. Runes. It's a brilliant Joycean portmanteau, a word just bursting with layered meanings. It clearly encompasses writing and rules, suggesting an inherent order to the universe, but also evokes runes, those ancient, mysterious, often magical scripts, hinting at hidden meanings and a primal connection to the sacred.
Right.
And then there's ruins, what remains after decay, pointing to the cyclical nature of destruction and rebirth. Crucially, it also carries the sense of righting its own wrongs, implying a self-correcting, self-organizing process in history. So the single word, runes, captures the entire concept of history, the inevitability of decay, and the perpetual process of cyclical renewal, all expressed through an ongoing, inherent textual process. The world, in this view, doesn't just have a history. It writes it constantly, whether we consciously perceive those inscriptions or not, whether we're aware of the inferential senses that pick them up. It's an ongoing, living document of existence, unfolding in every moment.
It's almost overwhelming to think about that everything around us is a constantly evolving text. And the scholarship we've consulted also reminds us that in Nillo's Debos, a phrase echoing in those days, but also playfully suggesting in no days, a kind of timeless past, there is no lumpen paper, no rag paper as we know it today. Writing wasn't done on modern manufactured paper, but on whatever came to hand.
Palm leaves, flat pebbles, animal skins, even the shoulder blades of sheep, as vividly described in Mardis's Lycoron.
Yeah.
This isn't just a historical detail. It emphasizes the raw, ancient, and persistent impulse to record, to leave a mark, a sign on the world, long before the invention of standardized writing materials. It's that sheer human need to capture and preserve, even on the most unconventional canvases. This really raises an important question about the longevity and evolution of information itself, doesn't it? From these primitive bone, pebble, ramskin, records these fundamental, often desperate attempts to preserve thought and experience, we journey through a long, arduous crawl to the days of the Magna Carta, to the use of print and type and rubrics and presses and inkwells. This isn't just a list. It's a rapid, compressed history of human communication, each step a revolutionary leap. The shift from individual, laborious inscription to the widespread dissemination of printed knowledge with the Magna Carta.
Right.
And then culminating with the monumental invention of the printing press by Gutenberg, affectionately referred to here as the Gutenberg, with his Cro-Magnon charter.
Cro-Magnon charter, I love that.
It's great, isn't it? Cro-Magnon cleverly connects Gutenberg to Cro-Magnon man, linking the very dawn of human intellect and tool-making with this pivotal moment in communication history. It shows how our ability to record and transmit information has continuously shaped and often reshaped our world, making knowledge both more permanent and more accessible.
So, on one level, it's a concise history of writing and communication, chronicling humanity's relentless drive to tell its stories. But it's also a profound philosophical statement. It argues that the world is inherently meaningful, constantly leaving its signs on it. It's not just a random collection of events, it's a continuously inscribed narrative, a text that is always being written and rewritten, even without human intervention. We are simply trying to read its ever-unfolding story. And what an unfolding story it is, because Joyce then takes this idea of an ongoing, self-writing world and plunges us directly into the fundamental cycles of human experience itself, in a truly dizzying philosophical sequence that outlines the very rhythm of existence.
Exactly. Because what you see next with this cascade of, in the ignorance that implies impression that after enlightenment, Buddha walked the world, knits knowledge that finds the name form, that wets the wits, that convey context, that sweetens sensation, that drives desire, that adheres to attachment, that dogs death, that bitches birth, that entails the ensuance of existentiality, is Joyce showing us that these universal runes aren't just external historical events, but the very internal, inescapable patterns of life and death, reflecting ancient wisdom that spans cultures and millennia. What's truly fascinating here is that this isn't just a stream of consciousness. It's a very clear and explicit reference to a core Buddhist concept, the Karma Chakra, or the 12-fold chain of dependencies.
Chakra, right.
Think of it like a cosmic domino effect, where ignorance sets off a chain reaction, impression, knowledge, sensation, desire, attachment, all leading inexorably to existence, birth, aging, and death, only to circle back to ignorance.
Yeah.
It's a profound map of human suffering and the path to liberation, laid out here by Joyce as a universal, inescapable pattern. And the very rhythm of the prose, it even echoes the simple, cumulative structure of the nursery rhyme, The House That Jack Built, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, I can hear that now.
Giving a deceptively simple, almost childlike framework to an incredibly profound and complex concept of human suffering and renewal.
Wow, it's almost like a biological process of meaning making, isn't it? This continuous flow of information, sensation, desire, all leading inexorably to existence and then back again. And then there's another powerful echo woven into these pages that reinforces this cyclical pattern. Ragnarok, the Norse mythological cataclysm where the world is consumed by fire and flood, only to die and then be gloriously reborn. The sources we've explored explicitly mention this, highlighting how these ancient universal cycles of destruction and creation, death and rebirth are deeply embedded in our collective consciousness, shaping our understanding of time and destiny. It's as if Joyce is pulling from every major cultural narrative to underscore this one fundamental truth.
Indeed. And this sequence, with its subtle variations of lived and laughed and loved and left, strongly hints at a four-stage Viconian cycle, a recurring and foundational motif throughout the wake.
Ah, Vico, yes.
So the core idea here comes from Giambattista Vico's philosophy of history, which is a massive influence on Joyce, as you know. Instead of history being like a straight highway, moving from a distinct start to a finish, Vico saw it as more like a grand, repeating spiral. Think of the seasons. Spring, summer, autumn, winter, then it starts all over again, but each year is slightly different, right? That's his cyclical view of history. Themes of birth, life, death, and recreation constantly repeating, but never exactly the same. Vico outlined four ages: the age of gods, primitive, poetic; the age of heroes, force and aristocracy; the age of men, reason and democracy; and then a ricorso, or relapse back to a new age of gods, albeit with lessons learned. It's an endless meander tale, just like the river meander itself, always flowing forward but winding back on itself, constantly transforming but always returning to familiar patterns.
And Neanderthal.
It's the ultimate what goes around comes around on a cosmic scale, applying not just to history but to human lives, to individual ideas, and even to the very words in this book.
So it's like everything's just endlessly recycled, right? Nothing ever truly disappears. It just shape shifts and pops up again in a different form. Kind of like the ultimate cosmic reuse and repurpose program.
Pretty much, yeah.
It suggests that everything is deeply interconnected, and nothing truly ends. It just transforms, shifts, and reappears in a new guise. The story being told here is the same told of all, a universal narrative unfolding again and again, echoing through all cultures and all times. It's a grand cosmic recycling of human experience and existence, continually told, continually evolving. And this brings us right back to a very specific place, but seen through this same ancient cyclical lens. Hashtag ancient echoes in the Dublin landscape. This meander tale then brings us squarely back to Dublin, but a Dublin that is simultaneously ancient and mythical. Our old Heidenberg in the days when head in clouds walked the earth. Here's where the familiar landscape of Dublin starts to merge seamlessly with ancient history and deep prehistory. It's like the city itself has been here forever, watching these cycles unfold.
Precisely. Heidenberg, it's a complex blend carrying multiple layers of meaning. It evokes Heidelberg, famously referring to Heidelberg man, an old Stone Age hominid, grounding the narrative in deep time. We're talking about the very dawn of human ancestors. It also contains Edinburgh, a historical European capital, linking it to a broader European urban lineage. And, importantly, it has an overtone of heathen, referring to an ancient pre-Christian past, a time before recorded history as we know it. Then we have Head in Clouds, which is a playful yet profound reference to H.C.E. Humphrey Chimpton Earwicker. For those new to the Wake, H.C.E. is a kind of shape-shifting everyman, the pub owner, the father, but also the symbolic embodiment of Dublin itself, of humanity's collective unconscious, constantly falling and rising.
Right.
So when he walked the earth, it's not just a man, it's history and myth personified, echoing figures from ancient giants to even the Buddha who walked the world after enlightenment. This immediately places our Dublin story in a prehistoric, almost mythical time, when giants like H.C.E. literally walked the earth, powerfully echoing the biblical account in Genesis 3:8, where Adam and Eve hid from God walking in the garden. It collapses time, making Dublin both the oldest and newest place.
And the scholarship we've been reviewing consistently reinforces that this is indeed the same Heidelberg man of the early prehistoric phase, reinforcing that unimaginably deep, deep past. We're not just talking about ancient history here. We're talking about a time predating Neanderthal man, the very origins of humanity. It's a remarkable way to connect the everyday Dublin landscape, the familiar swerve of shore, bend of bay, to the earliest chapters of human existence, making the local utterly universal. It's saying that the history of Dublin is the history of all of us.
And that phrase, swerve of shore, bend of bay, is not just a descriptive geographical detail, it's laden with meaning. It vividly describes Dublin Bay, but crucially it does so from two distinct, often conflicting perspectives. That of the native standing on the familiar shore, rooted in the land, and that of the foreign invader or returning exile arriving from the sea, bringing new influences, new challenges. This inherent geographic fluidity, this dual perspective, deeply mirrors the fluidity of identity and history that pervades the Wake. It embodies both the familiar and the alien, the indigenous and the foreign, constantly intermingling, clashing, and redefining one another. It's a microcosm of the conflicts and fusions that have shaped not just Dublin, but countless port cities throughout history, where cultures meet and merge, often violently.
It's like stepping into a literary time machine where Dublin isn't just a modern city on a map, but a vast living palimpsest of all human history. It's a place overlaid with countless layers of ancient myth and prehistory, where the echoes of our most distant ancestors can be heard in the very streets and shores.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a powerful reminder that history is always present, always flowing through the landscape, literally inscribed into the very geography. And if the landscape holds these ancient stories, then what about the midden, the refuse heap of this ancient yet modern Dublin? What treasures can we unearth there?
That's a perfect segue, because our sources take us even deeper into this ancient Dublin, describing the Durlbin, a brilliant fusion of dustbin and Dublin, as a midden-hide hoard of objects. What an image. It's presented as a vast symbolic refuse heap, yes, but it's also teeming with snakes, various alphabets, and all sorts of curious, seemingly discarded, yet profoundly significant items. It sounds less like a dump and more like an active archaeological dig site, a place where history and language mingle in the most unexpected ways.
Indeed. It's where the mundane meets the mythical. What kind of objects do we find in this Joycean Durlbin? I'm picturing a mix of prehistoric tools and, well, trash, really.
It's precisely that juxtaposition that gives it its power. We find a truly eclectic collection within this symbolic midden, transforming what might seem like mundane refuse into a treasure trove of human history. Our sources highlight everything from an axe, a celt, which is a prehistoric chisel, an earshare, a plowshare. These primal tools, all designed for breaking, shaping, and cultivating the very earth. They speak of early civilization, struggle, progress, representing humanity's fundamental interaction with its environment, from hunting and warfare to agriculture. But then we also unearth bellicose figurines, hinting at ancient conflicts, war, the darker side of human nature, alongside sharp flints, which were once cutting-edge technologies for survival. And then, the truly curious items like cooked peas.
Cooked peas? Really?
Yeah, perhaps symbolizing sustenance, growth, or even the remnants of a meal, hinting at domestic life, human consumption, the ephemeral nature of daily existence. And owl deegs, which could evoke ancient wisdom, the mysteries of the night, fertility, or even the vulnerability of nascent life. Each object, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, carries echoes of human activity, belief, and the unending cycle of life, consumption, and waste. It's a testament to how even our discarded items continue to tell our story if we only bother to stoop and look closely.
It's like every piece of rubbish is a miniature artifact, a clue to a larger story. And then there are the snakes. The text explicitly states, "See the snake worms every side. Our Dublin is swarming in snakes."
Mm,
This is a classic and very powerful Irish motif, isn't it? Often associated with a pivotal moment in the island's history.
absolutely.
The scholarship we've consulted tells us these snakes came to the island from triangular to shitter, a playful blend that suggests both Spain and England, implying foreign origins and influences in a cargan of prohibitive pomfruits, which clearly alludes to forbidden fruit, like apples, from the Genesis story. It's not just a casual mention, it's deeply symbolic.
And this imagery immediately brings to mind the legend of St. Patrick, who supposedly banished all snakes from Ireland. But Joyce, in his inimitable style, gives us a playful, almost bawdy retelling of this legend, blending it with the biblical fall. Long-landed Paddy Whippingham and his garbage cans cotch the creeps of them quicker than our who's there out of milk and could quick up her what's let's. Paddy Whippingham is a clear caricature of St. Patrick. But then the language shifts into this wonderfully suggestive, slightly irreverent territory, referencing the Genesis story Adam, Eve, the forbidden fruit, and Eve's insatiable curiosity with pricker, and what's that's, serving as thinly veiled euphemisms for genitalia,
Ah, I see.
hinting at original sin, sexuality, and the primal human drama unfolding in this Dublin. It demonstrates how ancient myths and sacred narratives are easily reframed, recontextualized, and even parodied within the fluid, protean world of the Wake. It shows how even our most sacred stories are part of the Midnight Horde, subject to retelling and reinterpretation. It's the ultimate demythologization and remythologization all at once.
So the midden isn't merely a dump or a refuse pile. It's a symbolic site of creation, of banishment, and of primal human drama, all set against a deeply Irish backdrop. It's an alphabet soup of history, myth, and human foibles. And speaking of alphabets, the sheer linguistic richness here is astonishing, a true testament to Joyce's polyglot genius. #, the language of many tongues. The text then dives headfirst into the very nature of language itself, showcasing a wild, exhilarating confusion of potential alphabets, hinting at the vast history of human communication. We encounter references to Futhork, the ancient Hebrew alphabet with Aleph, Beth, Gimel, Daleth, the Greek alphabet with Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, Epsilon, and even the enigmatic Ogham alphabet. It's like a whirlwind tour through the history of writing.
It truly is. This section powerfully illustrates the profoundly polyglot or multilingual nature of the Wake, where all languages and their histories are simultaneously present. Futhork, for instance, is identified as the primitive Gothic alphabet, named, like its Greek and Hebrew counterparts, after its first 6 letters. This inclusion immediately places the Wake in a lineage with the earliest Germanic writings. The specific mention of letters from Hebrew and Greek alphabets emphasizes the deep historical roots of language and how they are intertwined, sharing common origins and evolving through countless transformations. These aren't just random letters. They are the building blocks of Western civilization's written communication. And then there's the Ogham alphabet, described by Claude, which is a particularly fascinating ancient Irish script.
Oh, right.
Ogham divides letters into groups of 5, often represented by notches or lines cut into the edge of a stone or wood. It includes the 5 vowels A, O, U, E, I. Its inclusion here underscores Joyce's deep connection to Irish heritage, but also his interest in obscure ancient forms of communication, linking back to the Claybook idea of primal inscriptions. It's a complete immersion in the global and local history of written communication, showing how language itself is a midnight horde.
It's mind-boggling to think about all these ancient alphabets converging in one place. And this idea of multi-layered, almost infinite meaning is made explicit with the declaration that every word will be bound over to carry 70 top typical readings throughout the Book of Dublin's Giant. I mean, 70 meanings for every word. That's not just complex, it's completely liberating for a reader, maybe, but also potentially overwhelming. Do you ever feel like Joyce is just having a laugh with us, or is there a method to this magnificent madness?
Well, that's the genius of it, isn't it? He's definitely having fun, but there's a profound method behind it. What's fascinating here is that this isn't just a poetic exaggeration, a Joycean flourish. It's a direct echo of Muslim exegesis, which, as detailed in Martyrs' Le Quran, accepts that every word of the book possesses 70 meanings.
Oh, interesting.
This concept informs Joyce's approach to language within the Wake. Think of it less as 70 distinct definitions, and more like a prism, where each word refracts into a spectrum of associations, historical echoes, linguistic puns, depending on the context of the reader, even the time of day. It's a method of capturing the chaotic, multi-layered nature of human thought itself, not just an academic exercise. It mirrors how our own minds constantly jump between ideas and connections.
Okay.
The phrase Dublin's change itself is incredibly rich, simultaneously referring to Dublin's giant, pointing to HCE, the city's symbolic embodiment and central figure, and the notion of double-ended joints, signifying the book's inherently layered language, its self-referential nature, its constant doubling back on its own meanings. It also beautifully calls to mind the sacred prayer from the Book of Common Prayer, "Those whom God hath joined together, let no man put asunder." It's a text that is perpetually joined and rejoined, whose meanings are inextricably linked, inviting us to find the connections rather than insist on singular interpretations.
It's an incredible, almost revolutionary concept. Every
Yeah.
single word in Finnegans Wake is not a singular point of meaning, but a universe of potential interpretations. You're not just reading one story, but 70 stories simultaneously, all converging and diverging in this single, expansive, deep dive. It makes you think differently, not just about this book, but about every text you've ever encountered, about the inherent plurality and fluidity of language itself. It's an invitation to see language not as a fixed code, but as a living, breathing entity, constantly giving birth to new meanings. And this idea of language as a living, moving thing takes on a very literal dimension in the next section. As we move into page 20, the text shifts its focus slightly to the very act of reading the physical book you hold in your hands. It says, "Look what you have in your hand, self." The movables are scrawling in motions, marching, all of them ago in pit-pat and zing-zang. For every busy earwig's a bit of a Tory tale to tell. It's an invitation to recognize the book as a living, moving thing right there in your grasp.
Indeed. Hand self, it implies the book itself, the actual copy of Finnegans Wake in your hands, stressing that physical, almost intimate connection between reader and text. Movables suggest both the literal movable type used in printing the individual letters that arrange and rearrange to form meaning, and more playfully the small objects of value, the pellets that make the tom-tommy's payroll. It's a direct invitation to engage with the physical text and to perceive its internal dynamism, the constant motion of its words and meanings. The book isn't static. It's a bustling, marching, zing-zang world in miniature, where every word, every phrase, every concept is alive and moving. It's also a subtle nod to the economics of publishing, connecting the printed word to the very livelihood of those who create and disseminate it.
And the political Whig and Tory tale hint at the constant interplay of opposing forces. The right rank Ragnar rocks and the orangutangos wrangled rough and right grong. And this isn't just political commentary. The scholarship points out it's a classic tongue twister, isn't it? Echoing, "Around the ragged rock, the rugged rascals ran," which reflects the linguistic playfulness of the Wake, but also its inherent conflict and the continuous wrangling of ideas.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that opposition and debate are fundamental to the narrative, not just in politics, but in language itself. These words are literally wrestling with each other.
And that wrestling often takes us back to the most ancient forms of storytelling. We also encounter familiar folktale openings and endings, often presented with a mischievous Joycean twist. Phrases like "once upon a time" and "twos behind their lettuce leap" and "threes among the strubbly beds" clearly allude to once upon a time, but they also playfully reference specific Dublin landmarks like Slip, meaning salmon leap, a waterfall, and the strawberry beds, a scenic area on the Liffey. It grounds the fantastical in the local.
Right, anchoring it.
And then we have the cheeky ending, "You can ask your ass if he believes it," which is identified in our sources as a common 16th century folktale closing formula. It's a playful challenge to the reader's credulity, a wink and a nudge from Joyce, linking the sophisticated narrative to ancient oral traditions where the storyteller would often tease their audience. It acknowledges the constructed nature of storytelling itself.
This shows us that the Wake is not solely high literature, steeped in obscure academic references. It's also deeply rooted in the everyday, the popular, and the oral tradition. It's the grand, universal narrative and the simple, familiar nursery rhyme all at once. It embraces everything from epic myths to whispered street tales, collapsing the boundaries between them, reminding us that all stories, regardless of their origin, contribute to the great meander tale.
Yeah.
It's like finding a Homeric epic etched onto a playground wall, #tag characters and their metamorphoses. The text then continues with a fascinating parade of characters and scenarios, constantly shifting and transforming, often with a touch of satire or irony. That one of a wife with faulty barnets. For then was the age when hoops ran high, of a norch and a chopwife, of pum full grave and a family of levity, or of golden youths that wanted gelding. It's a whirlwind of allusions and metamorphoses, giving us glimpses into diverse lives.
It absolutely is, and each phrase is a condensed narrative in itself. Bolty Barnets refers to Forty Bonnets, a famous nickname for Mrs. Tommy Healy of Galway, a relation of Nora Barnacle, Joyce's wife.
Ah, a real person.
Yes, she was known for her petite stature and wide variety of hats. So it's a specific Dublin detail, grounding the universal in the local, connecting the narrative to Joyce's own life and city. The phrase, "the age when hoops ran high," evokes the fashion of hoop skirts, suggesting a time of high fashion, extravagance, and perhaps a hint at fertility, implying 40 bairns or children. It's a vivid snapshot of a particular era and its social customs, brimming with life and domesticity.
And the clever wordplay continues with Norch and a chopwife, which is a playful and compressed take on Noah's Ark, twisting the biblical narrative into something more domestic, perhaps even a bit comical. And then the Pumful Grave, a heavy apple, evokes both Newton's apple, symbolizing gravity, scientific discovery, the weight of the physical world, and Adam's apple, linking it to the fall from grace, sin, and the moral weight of human existence. This is sharply contrasted with the family of levity, the family of lightness or frivolity, embodying the constant duality of human experience, the weighty and the whimsical, even golden youths that wanted gelding, a phrase that can mean castration, but also gilding or seeking money, or maybe being well-bred but wanting to be cut down to size points to the dual nature of desire, transformation, and loss that permeates the work. It's all about these endless paradoxes.
This really raises an important question about the fluidity of identity within the wake, how characters and concepts are never fixed. What's truly fascinating is how this subsection culminates with a series of dance names drawn from Samain's La Langue de Rabelais, a study of popular, often bawdy French folk language and culture from the 16th century.
Oh, okay. Dance names.
Yes. We see names like Malmaridad, meaning the poorly married woman, which hints at marital strife and societal expectations. Then Revergas, suggesting girls who would tuck up their skirts while dancing, implying a lively, perhaps scandalous movement. Frisk simply means lively or brisk, capturing youthful energy. Pyrrhic refers to an ancient Greek war dance, but also a metrical foot, blending martial prowess with poetic structure. Le Gai means the gay one or the joyful one, embodying exuberance. Tribière refers to one who trips, perhaps humorously clumsy or suggestive of quick footwork. Valentinoise is a dance from Valence, specific to a region, while expect un peu means wait a bit. These aren't just labels, they're vivid descriptions of dances, each carrying suggestive movements or origins, connecting the text to physical performance, ancient rituals, and rich French linguistic history. Each name is a tiny drama, a character taking center stage for a moment, revealing a facet of human interaction and expression through the body. It's a literal dance of words and concepts where characters appear and reappear in new guises.
It's a literal dance of words and concepts where characters appear and reappear in new guises, performing ancient roles in contemporary settings, all across the stage of language. And at the very end of the section, we hear the corn entreats and the larp notes prittle, bringing in the central figures of HC and ALP through the evocative sounds of horn and harp notes. It's a grand, chaotic, utterly human performance, a symphony of language and history, where music and myth coalesce. #tag outro. Wow, what an absolutely exhilarating journey we've taken through just pages 18 to 21 of Finnegans Wake. We started by seeing how Joyce ingeniously transforms ancient clay tablets into a constantly flowing, ever-changing alphabet, a riverbed of language where the very world itself writes its own runes, leaving its indelible marks on everything. We explored the profound universal cycles of existence, drawing parallels from Buddhist philosophy to Vico's cyclical view of history, all vibrantly set against a mythic and prehistoric Dublin landscape.
We've also peered deep into the Middenheide hoard of objects, that symbolic Dublin dustbin, finding everything from prehistoric tools to serpentine creatures and the echoes of forbidden fruit. This exploration revealed how countless layers of history, mythology, and everyday life are continuously inscribed, reinvented, and reinterpreted within the wake. And perhaps most radically, we grappled with the astounding idea that every single word in this Claybook might hold not just one, but 70 distinct meanings, profoundly challenging us to rethink how we read and what we understand by meaning itself, transforming us from passive readers into active archaeological discoverers.
So, what does this all mean for you, our listener, as you continue your own journey through literature and life? It's more than just an academic exercise. It's a vibrant, immersive invitation to lean in, to embrace the meander tale, to actively participate in the text, and ultimately to find your own unique path through this rich, unruly, and utterly unparalleled literary experience that is Finnegans Wake. It's about recognizing the world as a story always in progress and your place within it.
And this leads us to a truly mind-bending insight, I think, for you to ponder long after our deep dive concludes. If everything, as Joyce shows, is constantly being rewritten, reinterpreted, perpetually in flux, if meaning is constant flux, then perhaps the truth isn't some fixed, immutable point we're trying to reach. Perhaps the ultimate truth, the most profound insight, is the very process of transformation itself, the endless runes of the world continually shaping and reshaping meaning. It's not about finding the answer, but about embracing the endless asking, the perpetual discovery. Keep digging, keep exploring, and keep letting the world write its runes for you.